Javon Small selected by the Memphis Grizzlies in the 2025 NBA draft. We talk about that. Some silence from somebody that just left the program not that long ago on today's edition of Between The Eers. Good Sunday morning, everyone. Schuyler Callihan with another episode here of BT. Before we get started, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI. I promise you, you're going to want to, because once football season comes around, it's going to get really crazy. We're going to have a ton of videos going up. We may even try to sneak in more than we already have planned. We'll kind of see how that goes. But as of now, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, every week from now until the end of football season, we'll have Between the Eers. And then, of course, the Walkthrough Game Day show every Thursday before the West Virginia game, and the post-game shows directly after West Virginia takes care of whoever they're playing that weekend, or vice versa. So we've got a ton of episodes coming up. If you subscribe to our channel, you get that notification as soon as an episode drops. So on Thursday night, Javon Small goes 46th overall, and I got to be honest, I was pretty upset, or maybe it was 48th. Regardless, I was pretty upset because I had my Javon Small was drafted article for, gosh, I don't know, 2 or 3 days. And it's one of those things when you're in this business, you know something's going to happen. You pre-write it. You know something's going to happen. Sometimes it happens on the recruiting trail. You know a kid's going to commit. You get the article ready. And I'm sitting there fighting, sleeping. And I had a long round one because obviously covered the Charlotte Hornets for on SI as well. They did a bunch of stuff on the first night of the draft, was up super late. So I fall asleep probably two to three picks before Javon gets picked. And I wake up, I thought it was only out for like 5 minutes, and boom, it's like pick 56. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I was a tad late on something that I already had pre written. That's one of the things that just really irks you when you have something like that done. But nonetheless, congratulations to Javon for getting drafted. I thought he would probably go a couple of picks earlier. There's even some chatter that Boston was going to be somebody that targeted him, which would have been a really cool situation. Him teaming up with Joe Mazzulla, of course, but Memphis is a good fit for him. We're going to talk about that fit here in just a second. But first, I do want to talk about the article I put out yesterday regarding Darren DeVries, because I think the majority of folks understand where I was coming from. There's a few, people out there that are trying to make this something that it's not, and are just being absolutely ridiculous, calling me a fanboy and all that stuff. But listen, if you know me by now, I'm not any way, shape, or form a fanboy. I'm going to tell it how it is. And it's exactly why a week ago I put freaking Nico Marchiol as the 13th quarterback in the Big 12. I don't have a number one. I don't have a number two. I don't even have a top five. I'm going to tell you how it is. I don't pick West Virginia every week. I don't predict them to have, this college football playoff type of season in year one under Rich Rodriguez. It's just, I'm telling you how it is. So after Javon was selected, I let it go for about a day or day and a half. And because I know it was, I didn't want to react right away, but I wanted to keep an eye on it. And of course, nothing from Darren DeVries publicly. And maybe this is on me for not putting that part into the article, that he didn't publicly acknowledge or publicly congratulate Javon Small. Could he have perhaps reached out privately? Yeah, absolutely. He probably could have. But did he? I don't know. That part I'm not sure of. And yeah, I probably should have done some digging into that. But let's be honest here. I'm not probably going, if I had to guess or assume what happened, I'm probably going to guess that the guy that left West Virginia in the middle of nowhere, spending one season there, clearly had his head elsewhere before the end of the season, probably didn't say anything. That's my gut. That's my gut assumption. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Wouldn't be the first time, won't be the last. But even still, even if he did privately message Javon, it to me that doesn't. Yes, it might mean something more personally because it wasn't shared with the world. But to me, if I'm a head coach and I just put a guy in the NBA, why am I not publicly gloating about that? Even if you do it in a congratulatory manner, you're still this is an opportunity for you to say, hey, I put this guy in the NBA. Hello, recruits, look at me, look at what I'm doing, look at how I can develop you into an NBA talent. But at the same time, it's also a way of showing support publicly for a player. The way that Darren left is, I mean, let's be honest, it was pretty sudden, it was quick, and there was no, from what I understand, there wasn't like this whole like meeting of, hey, sorry that I had to leave. This is just something for me. It was more of just pack his bags, took the job, and went. And I thought that would have been a great opportunity for Darren to, and it's not something that he has to do. It's not he's not obligated to mend ties or maybe patch up some choppy relationship now with the fan base of his former school, but it would have made it a little bit better to just publicly show that support. Could have done it privately, whatever. Doesn't matter. The point being, Javon Small helped Darren DeVries get this Indiana job. If we're being 100% honest, and this is really no disrespect to the other guys on that roster, they had their part in it too. But if it wasn't for Javon Small, we know where that offense would have been. Not good enough. And they probably would have had a losing record. So Javon takes West Virginia to the cusp of the NCAA tournament, allows Darren to be in position to get a job like Indiana. And if anybody deserves any sort of acknowledgement, it's Javon Small. So why Darren doesn't say anything publicly, that I don't understand. Again, it could have been done privately. To me, that's not enough. This man not single-handedly, but he did a heck of a lot of the pushing and shoving to get him in position to take one of the blue blood jobs. That's more than just a private thank you or a private congratulations. But, anyways, moving on from that because that's not really what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Javon getting drafted to the NBA and what his future looks like in Memphis, what his career could look like in the NBA. So let's look at the Memphis Grizzlies. So obviously they have John Morant. They have some other young pieces that are kind of in the mold there. To be honest with you, this is a pretty crucial offseason for them. For those that don't follow the NBA, they were pretty good for a while. Then they had that setback year when Ja was out, trying to make their way back now, but they're moving some pieces around. Obviously, they just had that big, massive trade with Orlando, sending Desmond Bain there. They got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Cole Anthony and some other pieces. So it's somewhat of a crowded backcourt, but I think there's going to be a path to success or a path to find a way on the floor for Javon, maybe as a rookie. Is it going to be this, 15-minute per game role? Probably not. It's probably going to look very similar to what Jevon Carter and Deuce McBride both had to do, and that was play in the G League, get some minutes there, get some experience there, tear it up down there, and then once they do, if an injury pops up or maybe later on in the season they come up, they no don't really necessarily crack the rotation, but get some in-game reps, and whether it's garbage time or whatever, um, and then towards the end of the season, maybe you start to see some of that role expand. But I don't think it's going to be anything huge in year one. But I do see a path, especially if there's some uncertainty there with John Morant. I'm not 100% sold on the fact that John Morant's going to be a Memphis Grizzly 5 years from now. I'm not saying Javon Small is going to be the future point guard for Memphis, but I do see a very respectable career that he can carve out. And Memphis is a good place for him to do that. It's an organization built on the grit and grind. We know all about that identity. It's why Jevon Carter was drafted there. He fit that identity perfectly. That culture, defense, tough mentality, play with physicality, diving on the floor. That's what when Memphis was really good. That's what they were known to do. And that's kind of what they have to do because they're a smaller market team in the NBA. They don't have the ability to go out and get all these big time players in free agency. They can try, but they're probably going to be better off drafting, developing those tougher, overlooked guys that have a chip on their shoulder like Javon. So, my question today, who has the better NBA career, Jevon Carter or Javon Small? Now, obviously, JC's got some years on him. So it's a little unfair in that sense, but we're talking about at the end of the day, when both of their careers are done, when you look at their two resumes, who's going to have the better one? Initially, I would have probably, if you asked me like 2, 3 months ago, or, well, excuse me, 2 or 3 months into the season, I probably still would have said Javon Carter, but I think that's shifted now because I think the deeper we got into the season, you could see Javon Small was more than just a scorer. He could defend. He cared about that end of the floor. He took pride in his defense. He could facilitate the ball. And as he explained in his press introductory press conference in Memphis, he's probably overlooked as a playmaker or a shot creator for others because he had to score more this past season at WVU. Words straight from his mouth. And it's the honest to God's truth. If he's in a system where you have other playmakers, guys that can put the ball in the hoop, he's probably going to get you more assists per game. He's probably going to set his teammates up a little bit more. But because of the situation this year, he had to put the ball in his hands more. He had to go to the rim, so on and so forth. So I think you're going to see Javon kind of stray away from being that go-to scorer. I mean, obviously he's going to have to. He's not going to be the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth option on this team, scoring wise. But he can still put the ball in the hoop. But when he is on the floor, I think you're going to see a more of a pass first guard and a guy that's really going to try and lock down defensively. If you make it to the NBA, that's the two things that coaching staffs and front offices look for to get you on the court as fast as possible. Can you defend and can you help set up your teammates? If you can do those two things and you play unselfishly, you're probably going to find minutes. So I think Javon understands that. And when you got Ja Morant, you have Jaren Jackson Jr., you have KCP, you have Cole Anthony, you have all these other guys, Zach Edey. There's plenty of guys to get the ball to, and plenty of guys that can put the ball in the hoop. So there's not going to be any question there. Defensively, I think Javon was one of the most underrated defensive players in the Big 12 this past season. I know we put a lot of stock into what Sincere Harris did, and rightfully so. He was probably the best on ball defender. But Javon had a major play in that defense for the Mountaineers this past year. I think a lot of people just overlooked that because of what he did offensively. But defensively, he brought a ton of value to WVU. It really kind of helped made that a lot better than what it would have been without him. I mean, him and Sincere Harris, I think, were one of the best defensive duos in the conference. So that's my spiel on that. As far as Jevon Carter, I think he kind of came into the league with more of a background just defensively and a guy that could put the ball in the hoop, but wasn't. He didn't have the skill set I think Javon Small has offensively in that he can really get to the rim. He's athletic as heck. He's got a ton of bounce. He can drive through defenders. He can finish at the rim. Not that JC can't, but there's more tools in the bag for Small than there is Carter. And the only kind of thing that I'm kind of back and forth on with this little debate is to be good in the NBA, you don't have to be great at everything. You just kind of have to find your niche. If you're great at something, then you're probably going to carve out a role and be in the league for 10 plus years. Even though Jevon doesn't put up these massive offensive games where he's putting 15, 20 points up, I mean, he's sticking around the NBA because he can defend. He's going to press you full court. He can still do that. And that's why when you look at his stats and you're like, man, he only averages like a couple points a game, couple buckets a game. Like, how's he still around? How's he still getting minutes? It's because that defensive presence that he brings off the bench at any given time, that's the one thing he's great at. He's always been good on the defensive end. You can always count on that. And eventually he'll knock down some shots. And that'll just be the little cherry on top. For Javon Small, I just think he comes into the league with maybe not, a skill that he's great at. I think he's good in a lot of areas. I just think he's a better overall player because of what he adds offensively. Clearly not the same player as JC was defensively, but he is still, again, a very respectable defender, someone that is very overlooked on that end. If he continues to get better defensively, I do believe Small is going to have the better career because his offensive upside is there. And in the NBA, let's be honest, like, look, here's the false narrative with the NBA. Everyone thinks that there's no defense in the NBA. That couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth. I thought the same thing until I started covering it. When you go to these games in person, you're there every single night. Yeah, these guys plays defense. They're just a lot better offensively than they are at the lower level. There are possessions where guys take off and don't give the same effort, but for the most part, it is very tough to get some buckets in the NBA. Very, very tough. It's why it's not an easy transition for some of these guys that may average 20-plus points in college. They go to the NBA, can't hit a bucket to save their life. But back to Small, I just think that if he can continue to refine himself defensively, he's going to have a better career because he enters with a more ammo on the offensive end, more weapons in his offensive bag than JC did. So I also think too, when JC came into the league, there wasn't as many guys that were smaller, and I don't want to call JC unathletic. That's just ridiculous. But he's obviously he's not the same type of athlete as Javon Small is. I think that's fair to say. And I think over the last few years, we've kind of seen the league go a little bit smaller. And outside of the Wembanyamas of the world and freakish athletes like that, or the Zach Edey's or whatever, the league has gotten smaller. You're seeing guys that would typically, be a shooting guard or small forward now as power forwards and centers in the league. So now you can play with smaller point guards and smaller shooting guards. That's become more of a trend in the NBA. So now that's become more accepted or more used, I think that Javon Small is entering a league that probably caters more to smaller players like himself, and he'll get more of an opportunity at the start of his career. So I don't know. I could be all wrong on this, and maybe Javon Small really has a hard time cracking an NBA rotation at some point, but I like the skill set. I think he's got it all. He can do a little bit of everything, plays defense, can make shots, can facilitate the rocks. So I do think that there's going to be something there for him in Memphis. I don't know that he's going to be like Jevon Carter, where he bounced around to several organizations before he found a home, whether it was Phoenix or whatever. I think he can find that home in Memphis. I really do. So let me know what you guys think. Is it going to be Jevon Carter or Javon Small? Who has the better NBA career? Let me know in the comment section here on YouTube. And that'll do it for us here today on Between the Eers. Hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and we will be back here on Tuesday. Take care.